Course in Miracles, Workbook for Students, Part 1 of the Workbook, Lesson 95. I am one self, united with my Creator. Today's idea accurately describes you as God created you. You are one within yourself and one with Him. Yours is the unity of all creation. Your perfect unity makes change in you impossible. You do not accept this, and you fail to realize it must be only because you believe that you have changed yourself already. You see yourself as a ridiculous parody on God's creation. Weak, vicious, ugly, and sinful, miserable and beset with pain. Such is your version of yourself. A self divided into many warring parts, separate from God and tenuously held together by its erratic and capricious Maker to which you pray. It does not hear your prayers, for it is deaf. It does not see the oneness in you, for it is blind. It does not understand you are the Son of God, for it is senseless, and cannot understand anything. We will attempt today to be aware only of what can hear and see and makes perfect sense. I'm going to repeat that because I goober-gabbered it all up. We will attempt today. One more time. We will attempt today to finish the sentence. To be aware only of what one can hear and see and makes perfect sense. We will again direct our exercises toward reaching your one self, which is united with its Creator. In patience and in hope, we try again today. The use of the first 5 minutes of every hour for practicing the idea for the day has special advantages for the stage of learning in which you are at present. It is difficult at this point in learning not to allow your mind to wander if it undertakes more extended attempts. You have surely realized this by now. You have seen the extent of your lack of mental discipline and of your need for mind training. It is necessary that you be aware of this, for it is indeed a hindrance to your advance. Frequent and shorter practice periods have other advantages at this time. In addition to recognizing your difficulties with sustained attention, you must also have noticed that unless you are reminded of your purpose frequently, you tend to forget about it for long periods of time. You often fail to remember the shorter and more frequent applications of the idea for the day, and you have not yet formed the habit of using the idea as an automatic response to temptation. Structure, then, is necessary for you at this time. Plan to include frequent reminders of your goal and regular attempts to reach it. Regularity in terms of time is not the ideal requirement for the most beneficial form of practice in salvation. It is advantageous, however, for those whose motivation is inconsistent and who remain heavily defended against learning. 147. The implication is that our practice would ideally flow spontaneously and frequently from our desire for the happiness that results from practice. However, we currently lack the motivation to practice in this way, and left to our own devices would practice little or not at all. Therefore, for the time being, we need an external structure that impels us to practice regularly and frequently. We will therefore keep to the 5 minutes an hour practice periods for a while, and urge you to omit as few as possible. Using the first 5 minutes of the hour will be particularly helpful since it imposes firmer structure. Do not, however, use your lapses from this schedule as an excuse not to return to it as soon as you can. There may well be temptation to regard the day as lost because you have already failed to do what is required. This should, however, be merely recognized as what it is, a refusal to let your mistakes be corrected and an unwillingness to try again. The Holy Spirit is not delayed in His teaching by your mistakes. He can be held back only by your unwillingness to let them go. Let us therefore be determined, particularly for the next week or so, to be willing to forgive ourselves for our lapses in diligence and our failures to follow the instructions for practicing the day's idea. 148. As the context makes clear, we forgive ourselves for our lapses in diligence so that we can get back to our practice schedule without delay. Heaping condemnation on ourselves for our lapses in practicing just gives those lapses power so that we feel trapped in them. Instead, we could simply forgive ourselves, put the lapses behind us, and carry on with our practicing. All right. Where was I? Okay. This tolerance for weakness will enable us to overlook it rather than give it power to delay our learning. If we give it power to do this, we are regarding it as strength and thus confusing strength with weakness. When you fail to comply with the requirements of this course, you have merely made a mistake. This calls for correction and nothing else. To allow the mistake to continue is to make additional mistakes based on the first and reinforcing it. It is this process which must be laid aside, for it is but another way in which you would defend illusions against the truth. Let all these errors go by recognizing them for what they are. They are attempts to keep you unaware you are one with self, united with your Creator, at one with every aspect of creation, and limitless in power and in peace. This is the truth, and nothing else is true. Today we will affirm this truth again and try to reach the place in you in which there is no doubt that only this is true. Begin the practice periods with this assurance, given to your mind with all the certainty that you can give. I am one self, united with my Creator. I am one self, united with my Creator, at one with every aspect of creation, and limitless in power and in peace. Then close your eyes and tell yourself again, slowly and thoughtfully, attempting to allow the meaning of the words to sink into your mind, replacing false ideas. I am one self. Repeat this several times and then attempt to feel the meaning which the words convey. You are one self, united and secure in light and joy and peace. You are God's Son, one self with one Creator and one goal, to bring awareness of this oneness to all minds, that true creation may extend the allness and the unity of God. You are one self, complete and healed and whole, with power to lift the veil of darkness from the world and let the light in you come through to teach the world the truth about itself. You are one self in perfect harmony with all there is and all that there will be. You are one self, the Holy Son of God, united with your brothers in this self, united with your Father in His will. Feel this one self in you and let it shine away all your illusions and all your doubts. This is your self, the Son of God Himself, sinless as its Creator, with His strength within you and His love forever yours. You are one self, and it is given you to feel this self within you and to cast all your illusions out of the one mind which is this self, the holy truth in you. Do not forget today, we need your help, your little part in bringing happiness to all the world. And heaven looks to you in confidence that you will try today. Share then its surety, for it is yours. Be vigilant, do not forget today. Don't beat yourself up if you do. Throughout the day, do not forget your goal. Repeat today's idea as frequently as possible and understand, each time you do so, someone hears the voice of hope, the stirring of the truth within his mind, the gentle rustling of the wings of peace. Your own acknowledgement, you are one self united with your Father, is a call to all the world to be at one with you. To everyone you meet today, be sure to give the promise of today's idea and tell him this. You are one self with me, united with our Creator in this self. I honor you because of what I am and what He is, who loves us both as one. Beautiful lesson. I love this lesson. Lesson 95. I am one self, united with my Creator. And I'm going to move right into Robert Perry and Alan Watson in the companion of A Course in Miracles, Lesson 95. I am one self, united with my Creator. The purpose is to attempt again to reach your one self. Sorry, I get stuff popping up on my screen. In patience and in hope, we try again today. The practice periods are longer, every hour on the hour. The longer practice periods. Every hour on the hour for 5 minutes. And if you cannot do this, do at least the alternate 1 minute. Say with all the certainty you can give, I am one self, united with my Creator, at one with every aspect of creation, and limitless in power and in peace. You'll probably need to keep your eyes open in order to read it, or you can record it and listen to it and then go silent for 5 minutes. Close your eyes and repeat, I am one self. Say this several times, slowly and thoughtfully, attempting to allow the meaning of the words to sink into your mind. Saying it in this way will allow it to have a much greater effect on you. The remainder is a meditation in which you try to reach your one self, which is perfectly united within itself, perfectly joined with all your brothers, and perfectly at one with God. Feel this one self in you and let it shine away all your illusions and your doubts. Draw upon all the training you've received in workbook meditation. Frequent reminders as frequently as possible. There are 2 forms in this frequent practice. Repeat the idea. Realize that every time you do, healing enters someone's mind out there. Say silently to everyone you meet, you are one self with me, united with our Creator in this self. I honor you because of what I am and what He is, who loves us both as one. Applying the idea to everyone you meet is an important practice which you have previously done in lessons 37, 43, and 78. Encouragement to practice. Here on our 3rd day of the 5 minutes per hour practice, we are given an extended explanation as to why this practice schedule is so important right now. First, you need shorter practice periods, otherwise your mind will wander all over the place, which you probably noticed in those 10 to 15-minute practice periods. Second, you need frequent practice periods. When there are only 2 longer practice periods a day, you probably tend to forget the shorter ones. Frequent reminders in response to temptation. With the longer ones now being more frequent, you will be more likely to remember the shorter ones. Third, you need regular practice periods. Having them scheduled at these fixed, regular intervals will make you more likely to practice, given how resistant you are to practicing. For all these reasons, he urges you to omit as few of these as possible. The key to carrying this out is how you respond when you've missed one. Missing a practice period is simply a mistake, that's all. The way to respond to this mistake is to correct it, which means get back to your practicing. The danger, however, is that you'll regret this mistake as a real sin. This takes the form of you deciding that you've so hopelessly screwed up that you might as well give up for the day. Sound familiar? Yes, with a million different things. This is a subtle ploy of the ego. It is terrified of what your practice will bring, the realization of yourself. Its fear is what caused you to miss that practice. Its fear is what caused you to miss that practice period in the first place. Now it has convinced you that since you've missed one, you should keep on missing more. It has successfully nullified the threat of your practice by convincing you not to practice. The solution is in regard to your initial missed practice period as a mere mistake and forgive yourself for it. It was no big deal, just a moment of weakness. Seeing it as a moment of weakness deprives it of power. Now it no longer has the power to dictate everything that comes after it, to make your day over in its likeness. Now you simply correct it, you just get back to practice. This, by the way, is the workbook's consistent counsel on how to deal with missed practice periods. You do your utmost to implement this counsel starting today. Do not forget today. You are told this twice. I'm sure you've noticed. Heaven needs the healing thoughts you will send out to the world with today's practice. It is confident that you will try today, so you can be confident too. Commentary. Robert Perry does the previous section, and this is Alan Watson's portion. This lesson is one of my favorites because it acknowledges both my reality and the lowly image I have made of myself. It affirms my greatness without denying my illusion of weakness. It holds up the exalted picture of my one self, at one with every aspect of creation and limitless in power and in peace. But it does so in the context of speaking about my lapses in diligence and my failures to follow the instructions for practicing. It makes me realize that somehow this lofty vision of myself is not incompatible with my bumbling attempts to follow this course. It lets me know that my mistakes do not negate the truth about me. If anyone doubts what I said yesterday, that the overall intent of these next 16 lessons is to reach inward to an experience of our one self, and that the workbook attaches a great deal of importance to disciplined practice as a means of attaining that experience, let him or her simply read this lesson several times. You cannot miss the message, and I can't say it more clearly than the message says it, than the lesson says it. Structure, then, is necessary for you at this time. Do not forget today. Try today. Be vigilant. Do not forget today. Throughout the day, do not forget your goal. Yeah, I hear it. The lesson seems to be talking about two such disparate things. On the one hand, myself as God created me, my perfect unity. On the other hand, the emphasis is on regimented, very specific, structured practice every hour on the hour for 5 minutes. If I am perfect, why do I need all this discipline? Why not just affirm the truth about myself and be done with it? We need the practice just because we do not believe the truth about ourselves. We have all these hidden warriors in our minds, the subtle and deceitful manipulators of consciousness planted by the ego, that keep us from full awareness. Beware of telling yourself you aren't doing the discipline practice because you don't need it. Show me you don't. need it by doing it, and maybe I'll believe you. And I can so relate to this, because I told myself for years, well, I have that perfect peace in the instant, and that's where it is. That's where it's at. You know, I was in denial that I needed this practice, you know, because I knew, gosh, my specialness. I carried that for years. It's this great specialness with a huge inferiority complex. Anyway, let me get back to this. You don't just sit down at piano and play, I'm not even going to try to say that, piano concerto number 1 right off the bat. You start with scales. Scales aren't great music, but they are the necessary way to it. Just so, regularity in terms of time, playing scales, is not the ideal requirement for the most beneficial form of practice in salvation, the concerto. It is advantageous, however, for those whose motivation is inconsistent and who remain heavily defended against learning. That's me. I don't know about you, but that's me. Yes, that's me. The beauty of this kind of repetitive practice is that it discloses all the tricks of the ego that keep us from God. Just do it, like the Nike ad says, and you'll begin to realize how many resistant strains of anti-spiritual virus exist in the maze of your mind. How many ways you have invented to keep you away from knowing yourself. That is one of the primary purposes of the practice. You have seen the extent of your lack of mental discipline and of your need for mind training. It is necessary that you be aware of this. We have to be aware of our need before we can recognize the solution that has already been given us. We have to discover the self divided into many warring parts before we can acknowledge the perfect unity of our reality. So this practice will uncover our need and expose the ego. That's good. That's what it is supposed to do. But that isn't all. Yes, part of the intent is that we learn to forgive ourselves for failures. But the purpose is not to fail and then forgive. The purpose is to fail, forgive, and then do it. To say to yourself, oh, of course I didn't do the practice today. I'm supposed to fail. Is just another way to refuse to let your mistakes be corrected. It is unwillingness to try again. To allow a mistake to continue is to make additional mistakes based on the first and reinforcing it. It is this process that must be laid aside, for it is but another way in which you would defend illusions against the truth. In other words, accepting failure is not the goal. It is what has to be laid aside. Both the failure to practice and allowing the failure to continue are attempts to keep you unaware you are oneself. Oneself with one purpose, to bring awareness of this oneness to all minds, that true creation may extend the allness and the unity of God. Let me give myself to this process, knowing my true purpose, recognizing I am in training to awaken mankind along with me. Let me take these minutes out of each hour to become aware of who I am. It is given you to feel this self within you. I want that today, Father. I want to let go of my shabby illusions and feel the extent and power of my true self, given me by you. I want to forget my belief in my littleness, even if only for a few seconds each hour, and to continually bring myself these reminders, since I am so quick to forget, until the awareness dawns in permanence on my mind. Never again be forgotten. So it be. Thank you so much for joining with us. Lesson 95. I am oneself, united with my Creator. I always love to read this commentary. It's Robert Perry and Alan Watson, and it's thrashed. But let me see if I can get the cover here. It's 2 books. This is for part 1 of the workbook. And I'm missing half of it. I don't even know where it is. But it's lessons 1 through Watson and Perry. A workbook companion. And I just love it. It is an indispensable companion. And obviously I've had it for years. And I love it, love it, love it. Well, I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lesson 95. I am oneself, united with my Creator. I'm going to read the text in this workbook. I'm going to read the text, and I'll share it on YouTube. If you'd like to join me, I'm going to start very soon. And I'll just post the videos. I love you. Thank you, thank you.